hiru hiru you oh go.
Hi, Jennifer Licko here with a Celtic Journey episode number 5. And today I am going to take you on my own personal recommendation tour of Ireland. Now, I know this may sound kind of strange. I know I'm an American, and why is this American girl giving tips on where to travel to in Ireland? Okay, fair enough, fair question. I'm sure the tourist board in Ireland would be a much better place to go for recommendations. However, inevitably, when I talk to someone about Ireland, someone tells me about their trip to Ireland or the trip they are about to take to Ireland. And they always tell me the wonderful places they're going or they've been, and they are great places. The Cliffs of Moher, Kinsale, Waterford, sure, Dunluce Castle, they're great, great places. I agree, I love going to those places too. But I keep thinking there are so many other spots, and if they went to some of these other spots, they may get an impression that's not so touristy, and it may reveal to them a part of Ireland they would otherwise not get to know. So for that reason, I decided to put together this little video about the places I would recommend. So I lived in Ireland for many years, and during that time I did see a lot of Ireland, and I was very fortunate because my music partner is Irish, and so we just were kind of uninhibited with our exploration, and it was a lot of fun, and we had fun wherever we went. So I'm going to share with you now my tips. So let's dive in and get started. Now, one thing I do want to say is you're going to want to stick around to the end, because I am going to share with you one very important travel tip if you're going to Ireland. And this is a travel tip I wish that I had known a lot earlier. I'm going to share that with you at the end, so stick around. Okay, so let's dive into the northern part of Ireland. Now, this northern part of Ireland is very near and dear to my heart because it's where I used to live. More about that later. Right now, we're going to talk about a place called Lustybeg. So this is number 1 for me. We're going to start with this one, but it's also number 1 for me because it is my number 1 recommendation of where to go in Ireland. Why? Because everyone goes to the Cliffs of Moher. Again, they're great, but they are very touristy. So if you want to see some cliffs that are even higher than the Cliffs of Moher, then I would suggest Lustybeg. They're located in the Celtic region of County Donegal. They are the highest accessible sea cliffs in Europe. They reach a height of 1,972 feet. That's nearly 3 times the height of the famous Cliffs of Moher in County Clare. So this is one of the reasons I recommend it. Now, I will tell you that when we visited, it was a very rainy and overcast day. We were driving on your typical 1-lane road where you have to pull over if another car is coming around the bend on a cliff. With not much space to pass, it's kind of scary. So it's probably not the worst road in the world, but I wouldn't say it's the best either. So proceed with caution. You can decide to drive up or you can decide to hike up. I read that they are adding a distillery, so I would be on the lookout for some good whiskey coming from that area as well. Okay, moving right along, I am recommending Drumcliff. Now, Drumcliff, if anyone's from the area, they're probably thinking, why is she recommending Drumcliff, right? Well, Drumcliff has a church. Irish poet William Butler Yeats chose this peaceful churchyard at Drumcliff in County Sligo as his final resting place. It's a stunning location at the foot of Benbulben mountain, and there's a beautiful graveyard with a round tower and a high cross constructed, and there used to be a Christian monastery on the site. The monastery was actually founded by St. Columcille in 574. It's cool enough just to go there, but what's really nice about it is it's not advertised, it's not overly touristy, it's just a typical church. They do have a small coffee shop and a gift shop there, which is really nice and humble and simple. But they also have church services every Sunday, and they have music concerts at the church as well. Okay, so next on my list is Benbulben Mountain and Glencar Waterfall. Now this is located in County Sligo. Now Benbulben is never crowded. When you go there, you won't find many tourists at all, but it's quite easy to climb from the south side. And when you get to the top, you'll have spectacular views of the sea and of Sligo town. So Benbulben was actually a part of the Dartree mountain range, and it has a very distinctive tabletop shape, and that was formed during moving glaciers during the Ice Age. So if you follow the road alongside of the mountain when you're leaving, you'll eventually come to the Glencar Lake and the Glencar Waterfall. And it's a really beautiful spot, especially after you've been hiking, to go down to this nice shady tropical looking area and have a picnic. It's really beautiful. Okay, the last one on my list for places to visit in the north of Ireland, now I'm not talking about Northern Ireland, I'm talking about the north of Ireland, is Bundoran. Now I had to recommend Bundoran. So I lived very close to Bundoran. I actually lived between Donegal and Sligo in a really small town in Leitrim, and the small town was called Tullahan. So Bundoran is known for their music, and they've always been known for their music. So logically, I spent a lot of time in Bundoran. The music scene is very alive, and if you want to get away from the touristy music of Temple Bar in Dublin, then come here and walk into a few pubs, and you will find so many different styles of music. Traditional, rock, country. You get to know what the local Irish music scene is really like in Bundoran. But if you specifically would like to go to hear some amazing traditional Irish music, I would recommend Madden's Bridge Bar. Outside of the music scene, Bundoran is exciting. It's a beautiful coastline, and it's made up from a shale formation, and that's really unique, and it provides a great opportunity for people who want to go out taking pictures or just hiking and exploring. One of my favorite things to do in Bundoran was to walk the cliffs. And there are some nice little spots along the way of interest. One of them is called the Fairy Bridges. The Fairy Bridges are cliff arches which have been carved by the Atlantic Ocean. And also, close by the Fairy Bridges is the Wishing Chair, which is Bundoran's answer to the Blarney Stone. So you make a wish as you sit on the edge of the Atlantic Ocean. It's quite cool. As you're walking the cliff, you'll notice all the other activities that go on in Bundoran, such as surfing and equestrian trails. It's quite an active community with a lot going on, and you can even enjoy a seaweed bath after your walk. Now we're going to move to the south of Ireland. The south of Ireland is where I think most of the people go when they go to visit Ireland, which is great. But I think they're missing some of the great spots. So I'm going to start with Mizen Head. Now this is the southernmost point of Ireland. When I told someone in Bundoran that I was going to go to Mizen Head the next day and explore, he said to me, "Sure, why would you want to go down there? It's just a bunch of rocks." And I thought to myself, yeah, it's just a bunch of rocks. Why am I going down there? Let me tell you, I'm so glad I went to Mizen Head. It was exciting, it was adventurous, and it was beautiful. At the end of the Mizen Peninsula, the cliffs of Mizen Head rise above the Atlantic Ocean, where the currents meet from the west and the south coast, and waves from the mid-Atlantic crash into the land. I mean, if this isn't exciting, come on, I love this place. Now, you do have to be aware that the access across the bridge could be restricted during dangerous weather conditions, for safety reasons, of course. But let me just add that the day that I went, it was so windy, and I kept thinking, this bridge is moving, and I am scared to death. I am gonna fall into the waves and the cliffs below. And I thought, well, okay, they said they closed it if it was dangerous. As soon as I got off the bridge, they closed the bridge, right? Now, the second place I want to recommend is a place that I'm sure people know about it, but it's a place that we found by accident. We were driving down to Mayo, and on our way, we decided to take a different route. And when we did, we fell in love with this location called Lainline. And Lainline is the type of place that if you read about it, There's no way you can put into words the feeling you're going to get. And for that reason, many artists, writers, and painters come to this area for inspiration. So if you're on your way down to Mayo, why not go ahead and take the route where you go right through Lainline and you can see the beauty for yourself. If you're interested, you could stop and take a boat ride. Okay, so the next place I'm going to recommend is Keem Bay. It's not very far from the cliffs of Moher, so if you're going there anyway, go ahead and take the extra effort to get on out to Keem Bay. It's one of the most beautiful beaches in Ireland. Turquoise waters, golden sands, and beautiful rock formations make it look like a little paradise. It's a little off the beaten track, but if you like exploring unknown places, this is definitely for you. My next recommendation is Skellig Island. The Skellig Islands are only allowed for people over the age of 12. So that should tell you a little bit about whether or not you want to visit this place. The boat ride takes about an hour, and normally the seas are pretty rough. So if you have seasickness, this is probably not the best choice for you. First, the boat goes to one of the smaller islands, and it's uninhabited, but you can see thousands of seabirds on its rock during the nesting season, and the island has impressive pointy rock formations, and it's incredibly spectacular. The second stop is the bigger island, and you can get off the boat and go exploring the island itself. So before you get to the main part of the monastery, you have to climb up really steep rocky stairs, which can be kind of slippery in the rain as well. So you have to be careful, but it's not a very long hike, and it's not too difficult if you're kind of fit. Once you arrive at the site, the shape is super cool. The homes were built like beehives. They look like rocky igloos, and among them you can find many stone crosses as well. So the site is sometimes called the Irish Machu Picchu, and if you see it from above, it does kind of look like the famous city of the Incas, and you can also see the pointy peaks, and they remind you of the Andes Mountains. As an interesting fact, this was one of the filming locations for Star Wars: The Force Awakens. Okay, so here is the last location for the south of Ireland, and my recommendation is the small little town and court called Cove. C-O-V-H. Now, Cove is an adorable seaside village. Its colorful homes against the beautiful turquoise seaside make for a perfect painting, which is why this place has been painted many times. Now, it is a little bit touristy, but most people do choose Kinsale over Cove. So I wanted to recommend Cove. Why? Because it has some history that I think is pretty interesting. It was actually the last port of call for the Titanic. 6 million adults and children immigrated from Ireland, and 2.5 million of them immigrated from Cove. It was the single most point of immigration in the whole country. And it's just a beautiful little adorable town to visit. Now we're going to talk about Northern Ireland, and I love the fact that when you go into Northern Ireland, you get a completely different feel than you do in Ireland. So I want to talk about a place called Lustybeg. What a great name, right? Lustybeg. You'd go for the name alone. Lustybeg is an island in Northern Ireland. You have to take a ferry to get to the island. They have a lot of activities, such as shooting ranges, boating, rowing, canoeing. They also have mud bogging. Yes, they have mud bogging. I thought that was only a southern thing, but no, you can get in your truck and you can actually drive through the mud on Lustybeg. I love that. It's a really nice place to go for a light adventure and a lot of relaxation. I was only there once, but I thought it was a really nice place to retreat for a weekend. Now we're going to talk about the Dunluce Castle. Now I had to include this because this was owned by the MacDonalds, a Scottish family, right? Dunluce is a beautiful spot. Dunluce Castle is located on the Antrim coastline. You can take the Causeway coastal route and it is just beautiful. Now there's a lot of fun history to learn about this spot. The history and the tales of banshees and how the castle kitchen fell into the sea one stormy night in the 1600s. You can explore a lot at this location. Now, this is also a pretty well-known destination, and there's even an app for iPhone and Android devices available free of charge from the App Store and Google Play. However, when I talk to most people who are visiting Ireland, this spot never makes it into the conversation. So I really felt like I needed to add it because it was one of the star attractions for me when I was there. Okay, the dark hedges. I love, love, love this place. It just screams fairy tale all over it. Now, it has become quite popular because it's a filming location in the Game of Thrones. However, that does not diminish the beauty of this place. It's an archway of intertwining beech trees, and it's become one of the most photographic natural phenomena in Ireland. It was planned by the Stuart family in the 18th century to impress visitors who were entering their mansion. But today, it's really more well known because it's the filming location for Game of Thrones. Now that I've shared with you 12 of my favorite places to visit in Ireland, I want to share with you one more quick tip about traveling to Ireland, as promised. And this is important, especially if you like to eat. Most of the pubs will serve food. However, pubs and restaurants close very early. In Ireland, if you haven't had dinner by 9 o'clock, you may not be getting dinner. Now, this is not always true in the bigger towns, but in the smaller locations, such as some of the ones that I recommended, I would highly suggest eating somewhere between 6 and 8 p.m. Don't forget to opt in for this week's bonus, which is a downloadable PDF listing out all of these places. The PDF is embedded with links that will take you right to a website for each location. If you are planning to visit Ireland or you know someone who's visiting soon, be sure to download this list and visit the recommended sites because you'll learn a lot more than what I offered about each place. So there you have it. I hope you enjoyed this episode of A Celtic Journey, and I'll see you again next week. Martin Leth. Hi everyone, it's Jennifer Licko here. Welcome you. Well, hello. Well, hello. Well, hello. The Irish tourist. Tumultuous. No, I'm not saying tumultuous. I can't even say the word. Castle Kitchell. What is a Castle Kitchell? And how the Castle Kitchen. It's a castle kitchen.